Hello there, and a very warm welcome to Chazingdra Chats, the show where we take a stroll through the life stories of people in the Pokémon community, discovering the 6 Pokémon on their dream team along the way. I'm Charlie Merriman, Merry by name, Merry by nature, otherwise known as Chazingdra, a host and commentator for the Pokémon Video Game Championship Series, and a content creator. And this week, as every week, I very much hope my guest and I can make your day merry, because I have the pleasure of being joined by TORD Reklev. TORD, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. Just got back home, so I'm doing well.
Yeah, you just got back home from the Japan National Championships. I'm glad that the jet lag isn't affecting you too badly. And am I pronouncing your name correctly there, TORD Reklev?
Well, it depends how technical you want to be, but it's TORD Reklev.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I will leave that pronunciation to you.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Well, TORD, thanks so much for being with me today. You're a guest I've long wanted to have on the show. You are one of the greatest Pokemon trading card game players of all time, and I cannot wait to pick your brains and get a bit of an insight into your life story. For anyone who's maybe wants a little bit more of a flavour of you, TORD, can you give an introduction to yourself?
I'm a Norwegian Pokemon player. I am 30 years old now, and I've been playing the game essentially my whole life. I'm mostly known for being really good at the internationals and like these type of events. 5 wins, a struggle to break worlds, but I got pretty close a couple times. I got the finals, I got the top 4. Even if it doesn't go all the way, I'm usually always very proud of what I achieved.
Well, I'm glad that you say you're proud of the things you've achieved, because you very much should be. I'm sure that Worlds win is just around the corner for you, TORD. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Fantastic. Now it's time to dive into discovering competitive trading card game via an event distribution Pokemon.
Yes. So I was mainly into the video games, growing up. They were, always a little bit more flashy, and they definitely, it was definitely there I put in most of my time, right? Like hobby-wise. And maxed out game time in multiple of the games. I think especially the 3rd generation was where I put in the most time. And I was still kind of into the card game as well, but I was mainly into the video games. Not competitively, but just playing the story and trying to catch them all. And the first time I really got into the Pokemon card game was kind of by an accident. I was just going to my local game store to download a Deoxys, because that was how we did it back in the days. You had to locally distribute the Pokemon, right? So I went there and got my Deoxys, really cool. But I saw people, just at the local league, they're playing with Pokemon cards, and I was thinking, hey, I'm really good at this game too. I beat my mom all the time, so. This is really cool, people playing. And then got a little bit in touch with the store and the players, figured out that they met up on a weekly basis to play, and asked if we could join, right? Was always an awkward kid and didn't have that many friends, so this was a great opportunity, right? People with common interests. So started going to League, brought my deck, figured out that not only was my deck not even legal for standard play, but it was also terrible, and I got destroyed in every way I looked, right? I attached and passed, and my opponent took a 10-minute turn and, destroyed my board. That was, every game I tried to play there. So I figured quickly that I wasn't very good, and I needed to get better if I wanted to, continue thriving in the TCG at least.
Well, I mean, it planted the seed to where you are now, and obviously the crucial thing is you took that experience and decided to learn from it as opposed to quitting then and there. And I mean, if you had, your life would have taken a very different path. For anyone unfamiliar, yeah, Deoxys is a mythical Pokemon in the games, and those mythical Pokemon, they tend not to be available so easily, and so yes, sometimes there are these events where they will be distributed in order to have the opportunity to get one of these very, very rare Pokemon. It's wonderful that you're able to find your people, so to speak, the community of people you wanted to associate with, by going to this store. So was this your very first time going to this store?
I'd been in the store before. It's a relatively known chain in Norway, I guess, but I hadn't really seen people play in it before.
So roughly how old would you have been at this time?
I was 11, I think.
11.
I was 10 or 11. I'm pretty sure I was 11. I think I was barely scraping into the first year of seniors back then.
I see. Okay.
Or 11 to 14, I think was like the very first, say, age group back in the days. Like before we had the junior senior masters.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. And you said you always enjoyed the video games, especially Generation 3. So that's Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green. Was it the case that you sort of, people your age, friends at school were playing it, and so you got into the games, and then the cards came from there? Or were you interested in the cards first? Or, which way round did it work?
I mean, Pokemon was kind of like just a phenomenon, right?
Yes.
Kind of everything came at the same time, the cards, the games, all. And the cards is basically just something I did with my mom. She bought me cards just to collect, right? And then she figured out that it's a game. We can get double value out of these if we actually learn how to play it. So she taught herself how to play, and then she taught me, and then we had an extra, say, board game at home that we could play together. But I didn't really know that other people did it too, right? Like especially at the school playground, no one know how to actually play with these cards, right? Yeah. They were just like flipping them for, say, all or nothing type of thing, where you win the other people's cards. I know that was a popular game, and having, say, arbitrary Pokemon battles where highest HP or highest damage win or whatever. Not really much to it, right? But
okay,
that was how much people used them.
Yeah. It's wonderful that your mum took the time to study how the game worked and then taught you. I mean, it's little did she know what that knowledge would go on to pave the way for you to do. And, I mean, she must now be so incredibly proud of how far you've come from the back of that experience.
Oh, she takes great pride in that, actually. She she does like to bring it up, which I think is also very cute and fun. So
yeah, well, as well she should. So you go to this league and you play against people, and sure, it doesn't really go your way the first time, but would you say you had enough game knowledge at that point to see why you weren't winning?
So, I mean, I've always been pretty competitive. I think that's probably something that gives itself away at this point. But even as a kid, I was pretty competitive, and I wanted to learn, right? So I think I had a relatively rapid learning curve. I found, say, especially one of the better master players in Norway at the time that really helped me, say, accelerate my growth, just teach me all the basics of, this is good, this is not, right? And this is why something is good, this is why something is not good. And, just enhanced my, say, learning curve quite a bit. And I'm truly grateful for that. His name was Simon, and he was a really great guy. He won Norway Nationals a couple times, competed at Worlds, had some good showings at Worlds as well. Yeah, he's relatively unknown around the world now, since he hasn't played that much in a while. He's briefly came back not too long ago, actually. It was really fun to see. So I actually got to meet him not that long ago. So.
I mean, when you met him, again, not that long ago, I mean, now you've very much established yourself as one of the best players of the game, and it kind of partly all came from his advice as well, of course, as your mum learning how to play the game and playing with you. So, I mean, what was that interaction like when you saw him again recently?
I know, it was kind of a little weird. I don't think he truly fully understood how much he helped me in the beginning, so I'm not sure how much he actually values it like I do.
Well, there you go. Simon, if you're watching this, massive shout out to you, and thank you for everything that you've helped TORD achieve. And it's time to go from there now into what's going to be the first Pokemon joining your dream team. So as a reminder, everyone, the aim here is not for TORD to build the most competitively viable team in any way. It's just the 6 Pokemon that have been the most special to him over the years, and he can define that in whichever way he would like for himself. I have no idea what they are. He's decided on them in advance. So TORD, illuminate us. What's going to be the first Pokemon on your dream team?
Okay, so I'm making these choices based on, say, mainly the cards that have been very important to me over the course of many years. So the first one here is going to be Pitch It. It has a really special Pokepower or ability, which I call nowadays. And it actually got reprinted, and I used it to win big events, much, much later on. We'll come to that. But the Quick Search Pokepower lets you search your deck for any one card. It can be anything, every single turn, and add to your hand. That's sounds really good, and it is really good. It's just as good as it sounds. So gives you, incredible control over a game, and letting you do exactly whatever you want each and every turn. Just get the perfect card out of your deck each turn. And it was part of my very first, say, competitively viable deck that I got help from Simon to build again. So
Okay, Pidgeot joined the Dream Team. So, this quick search ability, just for anyone unfamiliar, like me, as a non-trading card game player, can you just break down, in terms of how this works, you're looking for any card you want, why is that a good thing, in very basic terms?
So if you can, like when you're playing a card game, right, each and every turn is essentially a little bit of a puzzle where you kind of want to accomplish something, right? You want to try to get enough cards to launch a powerful attack, or create a better board state for yourself so that you eventually can launch a better attack, right? Get rid of, say, liabilities and all that. So, but it takes cards to make happen, right? In VGC, you click an attack and you attack, right? But in the TCG, you need energy cards. You need to evolve the Pokemon from a basic Pokemon, right? So there's a lot more moving pieces, and you kind of need to assemble these, right? And with Pidgeot, you get to grab one of them, and then the assembling part becomes easier.
I see. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for breaking it down like that. That's really interesting.
That it also got reprinted and was a crucial part of, say, my later success in more modern times, not too long ago, and it's even still a part of the format right now. Okay. Then I wanted to go with Pidgeot.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Pidgeot, welcome to the team. And everybody, if you're enjoying this chat with TORD, please do like and subscribe. It really does go such a long way, and far further than it might seem. But we've got so much more conversation to have. So we will swoop over from there now into attending the first North America International Championships.
Yes. So this is quite a steep jump. There's a lot of things happening in between there as well. But I think this is where, say, to be too dramatic, but I felt like my life changed quite a bit after this event. So I had, in the meantime here, say from learning to play before this IC, a lot had happened. I had established myself as probably the best player ever in Norway. Won a bunch of Norwegian nationals, done really well internationally with the ECC, where I placed top 4 a couple times, which was the biggest event we had in Europe before the internationals took place. And the first NIC here is basically the first time anyone outside of the US were allowed to attend the American Nationals, right? Now rebranded to NAIC, the Internationals, open for everyone and anyone. So I prepared a big deal for this one. This was, of course, the last IC of the season. I'd done well at previous ones, but this was the pinnacle of the biggest event, right? So I really wanted to have a strong showing here. So I prepared a lot, went in with everything I got, and felt like I found a really good deck, a cool twist on the most popular archetype, and actually ended up winning the whole thing. Was really cool, and I felt people kind of saw me in a different light after I won that event. I felt like I was much more internationally known. A lot more people reached out to me, wanted to talk with me and whatnot, compared to the before again. So I felt like that was quite a step up. I mean, of course, I was still a student, wasn't doing this full time yet, but it was. People definitely treat you differently based on your accomplishments. I feel like if it's a good or bad thing can be discussed, but I definitely felt the change after that event.
Yeah. So again, roughly how old would you have been when you won that tournament?
So that event was 20. I have to do math here. That was 2017, 16 or 17. I think 17. So that was 8 years ago, and that would have to be 22 then, quick maths.
Yeah. So we've jumped about 10 years in the future here. And so at this point, as you said, so you're doing lots of tournaments. In the meantime, when you applied to go to the North America International Championships, did you... I guess you must have believed that you could have a strong showing because it's a big commitment to make. It's a big trip to make. Did you expect or believe on any level that you could go all the way?
Honestly, for me, it was mainly about, say, attending, because like it was the first time it was like possible to attend, right? Like it would be very fun if I had a strong showing, and that would be a bonus. Like earlier in the season, like at the first IC at UIC, I managed to get top 4. So I was already kind of versed in, you know, big placements at the ICs already, or like was very happy with that. But on the other hand, top 4 was the same placement that I got at both the ECCs, right? And this UIC was basically a rebranded ECC again. So obviously it was much more attendance. There was actual money on the line and all that, right? So it was more prestige. But say difficulty-wise and all that was probably relatively similar, right? And so I kind of felt like I kind of just matched what I'd done before, right? Even though it was more prices for it. But I went to OCIC as well, also like a pretty big commitment. But, you know, I got some funding from the top 4 at the UIC. So had a little bit more money to run with, even as a student. And I got there. I think I got top 32, which gives like a little bit, not too much back in the day. But I managed to scrape by enough money to go to NIC as well, at the very least. I definitely didn't expect to win, but I did want to have, you know, a good showing. I knew I had the capability to have a good showing since I had already done pretty well at the other ICs. I don't think I attended the first IC in Brazil. I think I skipped that one.
Okay, sure.
So I played those 3 the first season.
OCIC, of course, the Oceania International Championships,
yes,
which is no longer a part of the circuit. So you said that going into NAIC, this very first NAIC in North America, you had a deck which was a fun sort of twist on what we'd seen before. So again, in basic terms, what was so interesting about that deck?
So I would say like the interesting part of my build was that it was very simplistic and very, say, boring, because it was basically stripped a lot for, say, cute options, like different one-off inclusions that can help with certain situations and all. And I went more in a way of just a lot of cards, of the best cards, right? Like trying to max out. In the TCG, you're allowed to play a maximum 4 of each card. And I tried to have as many 4-offs as possible of all the cards I deemed to be the best in the deck again. And especially one card had Tapulele GX, which when you put it down onto your bench, you can grab a supporter from your deck, which are really powerful trainer cards that you can only use once a turn. And most people were playing, 2 of this card. That was the standard, and I played a whole 4. So it gave me a lot of, say, options and consistency advantage over the opponents, because I just had so many more of these throughout the game. Much easier for me to get it early game, much easier for me to close out the game with it as well. So easy for me to grab a card that draws a lot of cards, and easy for me to grab a Lysander that finishes off the game at the end, to just snipe off a weak Pokemon off the opponent's bench again. So for me, as a very competitive player at least, it was a very exciting list. But if you look at it, it looks kind of boring.
Okay, right. But no, it makes total sense, giving yourself maximum possible number of chances to succeed. Do you have a recollection at this point of what was going through your mind as soon as you won that tournament?
I remember waking up the day of the finals, and I was kind of in a weird mental state. I was thinking it wasn't real. It was really weird, because whenever you play, say, the championship Sunday, right? Then all eyes are on you. You get so incredibly much attention from everyone. just like walking around in the streets, even because the city is filled with Pokemon players, right?
Yeah.
Then like almost everyone you pass will be like, "Hey, good job, best of luck," And it's like a very surreal experience, especially for someone that's not really used to attention either. So it was a very weird feeling for me. But I remember I was just feeling very, say, happy, nervous, of course, right? I was gonna play the biggest, say, match of my life, but I wasn't even quite sure how the final matchup would go, because I had a friend that was taken out playing the same 60 as I did, the same deck, had lost to this player earlier in the tournament. So, but I was thinking that it would be a fine matchup, but since I had taken out my deck already, maybe it was worse than I thought.
Mm-hmm. And then in those grand finals, did you feel like, how confident were you as the finals went on? Was it close? Did you feel like you were reading your opponent well?
So as the game went on, I just got more and more confident in the matchup. I think I was thinking, wow, my opponent has to work so much harder than I have here. I feel like this could like really go the right direction. And I remember I've won both games relatively comfortable, actually. So that was probably one of, say, my strongest finals, at least. Just because the matchup was relatively in my favor. It was definitely possible to lose, but say the opposing deck needed a really, really hot start to make that happen.
Okay. Very, absolutely incredible stuff. And as with every topic from all my guests, we could just spend the entire episode duration talking about that particular thing. But of course, it's just a launch pad into everything that followed. So thank you for that, Tord. Now it's time to discover what's going to be Pokemon number 2 on your dream team alongside Pidgeot.
So, the second Pokemon I chose is Garbodor. Garbodor was a part of my deck at that NAIC. It was 2 different Garbodors even. One of the Garbodors shuts off all abilities in play if it has a Pokemon tool attached. And the other one has Trash Launch, which does 20 times each item card your opponent has in their discard pile. So every time they play an item card, which, most decks has about, 50% of their deck is item cards, right? So it accumulates really quickly and spins out of control very fast. So it kind of forces the opponent to play slower and not actually play down all the cards in hand to go as fast as possible. And if they do, that's a great card to punish, the speed of the opponent again. Especially the Garbotoxin, the one that shuts off all the abilities, was legal for basically ever. They kept on, reprinting it. So it was legal for so many years. So it was a card I used a lot for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years. It felt like it never rotated. So it was like a pretty huge part of my, competitive career before that event even. So I had to pick Garbodor as well.
Yeah. I don't think Pidgeot and Garbodor could be more different Pokemon, really.
No.
Thinking about it. Even right down to their facial expression, as well as the elephant in the room, which is the fact that one is a bird and the other is a big, split bin bag or trash bag. Would you say that Garbodor was the sort of most valuable Pokemon in that NAIC win?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, it was like the main strategy was just using those 2 Garbodors for sure. But it was not that many Pokemon in the deck. It was Tapu Lele, which I talked about already, that grabs supporter. But that thing could also attack. It was a decent attacker as well. And it was Drampa GX as well.
Okay.
Which was just kind of a big beat stick. It did a lot of damage and was a basic. So good.
Sure.
It was just very efficient at what it did.
Wow, fascinating. Well, Garbodor, welcome to the team, and we will now trash launch from there into... So, now a European International Championships, and discovering a key Pokemon for that.
Yes. So, this was the international that followed after NAIC. So I was kind of wanted to set out to prove to myself, first and foremost, that like my win wasn't a fluke, right? Because most events will have like not a repeat winner, right? That's the most common. Like most events will have someone winning an event for their very first time. And I felt like if I wanted to, say, really stand out and like prove to myself that I won, but maybe I was just lucky, right? I kind of need to repeat this somehow at some point. But I decided to try to go all in immediately, right? I had drive and motivation. So the follow-up event was UIC, was on home ground, right? So I wanted to put a lot of effort in, and a new card was released, Zorark GX, which is a card I think most people that played from that era up until now is a card that they associate me with, because I used this card a lot during its living time in the standard format. So when it was first released, it was kind of discussed as a draw engine that was slightly worse than the alternative we had already in the format. It has an ability that discards one card and draws two. That's pretty good, right? But there's another card in format that draws cards until you have 5 cards in hand. And there's a lot of ways to discard your hand, so that card probably gets more value each turn than the Zorark again, right? So, and the Zorark was also worth 2 prices. It had fighting weakness. Gale Aid was a really popular card, and then basically one-hit KO the Zorark. So it didn't seem like it was that much reason to want to play it, right? Like at first glance, it had a couple things going against it. But the thing I realized was that the more you have of them in play, the better it becomes, right? Because it isn't capped. If you use this other draw card, the Octillery, which draws until you have 5, it kind of stops there, right? It's hard to use multiple of these, because you draw until you have 5, and then that's kind of it if you can't play out your hand again, right? But with Zorark, your initial hand set didn't matter, right? You could continue accumulating cards, and you can also get rid of the cards you don't need for later as well, which is a pretty huge part of the game, right? Because there is a lot of hand disruption. Your hand often gets, thrown back into the deck, and then, you have to redraw and find pieces again. And so you accumulate all these pieces, right? So Zorark not only drawing cards, but also getting rid of the cards you didn't want to see later was like just a huge boost, right? And did quite a lot for your Pokemon experience, I would say. So I figured out that, okay, this is just really good. This is a really good strategy. Need to figure out how I can get this to work, right? Despite, the weaknesses it has. So, long story short, I just put in a bunch of time with this card, and I roll up the UIC. I play the deck, and this is probably by far the best deck I ever had for a tournament. It was essentially no one else playing the deck but me, a couple of my friends. That was like really it. Some other people played Zorark with some other partners, but they had, say, very underdeveloped list compared to mine. And I win the whole event relatively easily, I would say. Like most matches, I just have really good control. It was, I think, by far my best tournament like ever. And for the following year, that was like considered to be one of the best, if not the best, deck in the standard format. And that was, I took like great pride in that, because I don't think I will ever be able to replicate it, especially in this, say, information age that we are in now with online tournaments, even before sets drops, and there's just so much information out there. It's really difficult to be, ahead of the curve like that again. But I'll try, but it's a lot more difficult now than it was then, at least. That was, I was immensely proud over that accomplishment. And like another fun fact, the other deck that was also considered like the best deck for the following year was also created by a couple of Norwegians that also made top cut in this event. So it was me and a friend that played the Zorark deck, made it into top 8, and then 2 other people, also from Norway, that also made it into top cut at AIC. So there were 4 Norwegians in top 8 of the event. 2 with my Zorark deck and 2 with the Bus Wall deck. And both those deck lists were essentially considered the best decks for the next year. I I think that's the most impact Norway has ever had on the competitive circuit. So that was really cool.
To go back to the very first thing you said there, you said the main reason you wanted to have a strong showing at UIC was to prove to yourself that your win at NAIC the previous year had not been a fluke. And I think that's so crucial and insightful. I think most of the time, knowing that you have that internal drive and knowing that ultimately the standards you hold yourself to what matter the most, I'm sure that is a mindset that's really paved the way for the success that you've had. You said you wanted to have as many Zoroark as you could, but also you said before it's a maximum of 4. So you had 4 Zoroark in this deck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I started out with 4 Zora, because you need to evolve, right? Yeah. And then 4 Zoroark GX and 4 of the energy double colorless as well, so Zoroark could attack for essentially 1 energy. That was like my baseline, and just tried every single possible combination with this baseline and tried to figure out how to play it.
Yeah, okay. Sort of, how long before the tournament, do you remember, did you discover this strategy?
As soon as they announced the card,
yeah,
I was like vigorously trying to make it work.
I see. Okay.
Like immediately. I'm not sure how far in advance it actually was released, but it was definitely multiple weeks. So I had a decent chunk of time to work with this. I went through like a lot of different iterations of the deck as well. But it was funny though, because like whenever you're trying to create something new, right, then you're basically betting on yourself because you're going against the flow, right? And that can be scary because why is no one else doing the thing I'm trying to do here, right? Is that just an indicator that what I'm doing is wrong or bad? Or should I just believe in myself here and just stick with it, right? And I think it's very easy to get secondhand doubts, right? And I think all up until like a week before, I was even doubting if I should play this deck or not. Or just stick with the old faithful deck that I won an NAIC with, right? Like just slightly updated. But I'm very happy I decided to take the leap and just, go with the thing I've been actually working on for so long. And it turned out that was the best deck I ever made, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that if you had brought that NAIC winning deck to that UIC, do you think it would have also potentially done well?
I think it would still have done pretty well, but I don't think I would have won with it.
Okay. Let's see.
Like looking back at it, the deck was just like so unfair compared to what everyone else was playing.
Right. You mentioned there, Norway really had a big impact on the metagame at that time. I mean, you were talked very early on about how strong the local community was in Norway. Do you think that was a big impact in it? And would you say that Norway has always been just one of those regions that is constantly just trying to level each other up at the game?
I know the Norwegian community has gone in some waves, I feel like.
Okay.
There was definitely a point in time where we had like a lot of very strong, dedicated players. And then we definitely had a lot of times where the interest died down a little bit and most of our players decided to, focus on other things. Like we don't have an insanely high player base, so all it takes is that, the top 5 or 10 players or so decide to do something, say, life related, and suddenly, our player base is kind of gone again, right? So it definitely swings quite a bit there. But even I had a couple of seasons where I didn't really play all that much. I really started stepping back up during the ICs as well.
Okay. Sure.
I had a couple of years where I basically only played nationals. And I had a year I was in the military, for example, then I basically only played nationals. Had like a duty year I had to do, and managed to get a little bit of time off just to play that. So,
wow,
okay. that was fun.
Yeah, and of course, I'm well aware that there's so much sort of beyond Pokemon over the previous 10 years that you'd mentioned here between the NAIC and that first local that you attended with the event Deoxys.
Of
I'm
course,
sure there's
of
much
course.
more to unpack there, but yeah, it's interesting to hear about you're in the military and all that. But of course, at this age, you are now. Well, I guess you've graduated from university. So just to flesh out that picture a little bit, where did you go to university? What did you study?
So I had a couple different routes I tried out. So I went to the military, trying to give myself a little bit more time to think on what I want to do, as so many, in life. And I started with trying out a bachelor in computer science, thinking, that sounds interesting. But about 1 year in, I figured it wasn't really for me. So then I tried something else again. So I went into like real estate and finance instead, and I was doing that for quite a while. But Pokemon definitely disrupted my workflow here. So it took me much longer than it should, and at some point, some years later, I just decided to take the leap to be a full-time Pokemon player, essentially.
Wow, fascinating. I'm sure that those words, full-time Pokemon player, they're not words that when, for example, you attended that very first local, you ever would have expected would become a thing. And I'm sure that there are many listeners and watchers who are thinking the same, that, wow, what a world we live in where that exists. So, Tord, let's go from there now into what's going to be the third Pokemon joining your dream team alongside Pidgeot and Garbodor.
Yes, so fitting here, I think, is just picking Zoroark, right, as the third one. It was a huge part of, my career here, and it's also, I think, the card most people associate with me, at least the people that have played since 2017. Now, most of the player base actually jumped on, I think, after COVID, if we're looking at numbers. So most people don't really associate me with this card, but all the people that played that long, they do. So I think it would be a crime if I didn't include Zoroark on this team here again. And
it has to be Zoroark joining the team here, yeah, for sure.
Also, I use Zoroark for the next few ICs as well. I won the following IC also with Zoroark, but a different iteration. The OCIC that's now gone from the circuit. I used a Zoroark Gardevoir deck to win that one. And then going back to NIC later again, I also used a Zoroark deck. This time just a straight Zoroark. This time I didn't win, but I didn't make it to finals. And finals was still really good. So I was very happy with that as well. So Zoroark just did a lot for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, Zoroark joining the dream team. But we will now cast off our illusion and go from there into completing the International Championships Gauntlet in Brazil.
Yes. So this is like a little bit of a jump again. So I did really well with Zoroark, but I went to Brazil as well, in the same season. I also brought Zoroark, but I didn't manage to do it. I could not win in Brazil, so I could not win, every IC. I could not finish the gauntlet there. So it took me quite a bit of years, like even after COVID again, and like the circuit started back up, and I went back to Brazil, and this time I was playing Lugia V-Star, really strong Pokemon that can I explain the gist of the deck? So Lugia V-Star has an ability that lets you put 2 colorless Pokemon from your discard pile into play. So you could use the normally, impossible to, establish card Archeops, and just discard it, grab it from your discard pile, straight onto the bench. Normally, Fossil Pokemon is essentially useless in the TCG again. But thanks to Lugia, it was amazing instead. Like just very, very strong. So, and the Archeops ability lets you attach 2 special energy from the deck into play anywhere you want onto a single Pokemon. And that stacks as well. So you get to put 2 of them in play and use them twice. That's 4 energy from the deck straight into play. And we had really good special energies as well that you could attach from the deck. So you could power basically anything you can imagine. You could use the most absurd attackers to destroy your opponent. And it resulted in that event. That was the first event Lugia was legal. And I don't think we ever had a more dominant deck in the TCG. It made up almost every single top placement in day 2. It was like an absurd ratio.
I see. You said that fossil Pokemon are normally useless. Just briefly, why is that?
So in the TCG, fossil Pokemon always have some gimmick to them to evolve. Since you need to evolve from fossils, right? They usually make fossil Pokemon training cards or item cards that when you draw, you can put them down onto the bench as a basic Pokemon. And then you have to evolve from there. The problem is that since they basically only count as Pokemon after you draw them and then put them into play, it's really hard for you to find them initially. Because all the search cards that normally grab Pokemon, they can't grab the fossil cards again. So it makes it really difficult to find, say, the first step that you need to then evolve later again. So it just makes them too clunky, too slow to be competitively viable. Almost no matter how powerful they are after you evolve them again, compared to basically anything else. So it was like a little bit of a blessing that Lugia could bypass and cheat all this mechanic and just get them straight onto the bench, and you get to use them immediately.
Yeah. So this Latin America International Championships you're talking about here, this is after the pandemic. Over the course of the pandemic, were you just playing as with as much enthusiasm as ever? Did you take a step back? Talk to us about that.
This is like interesting because most people I know, they actually stopped playing during the pandemic because the incentive was gone, right? There was basically no events you could play in, right? And the format was also, say, heavily debated. Like the 3-prize VMAX mechanic was not very well liked. Games were really, really fast. The VMAX Pokemon also usually didn't offer much, say, complexity in their design. They usually just had a big beat stick attack. Very often didn't have an ability or anything much else interesting going on with them. So they were not like super well liked, and the game definitely dipped a little bit then. But there were still things going on. We saw the Players' Cup, which was officially hosted online events going on. I participated in every single one of them. So I still played quite a bit to prepare for those. We also had the Team Challenges, was another online event, which I really liked. That was a really cool thing they did, where you formed a team with your locals, essentially, but you and each of your team members had to win one of these local tournaments, become a champion that got you into the team, and then after you had a team of, I don't know, like 4 or 5 players, then you guys competed against other teams from around the globe in this online circuit that took stage, say, every week or so, every other week. Can't remember the schedule, but it took place over like quite a long period of time, and it was pretty cool. And then you and all your teammates were playing, a best of 9, I think, against all other teams. It was quite fun for sure. And me and my team, we actually ended up winning one of the team challenges as well. So that was also really cool. And the crazy part was that the prize for that specific team challenge was a bunch of Evolving Skies booster boxes. And if you don't know, Evolving Skies has exploded in the collector world and is worth thousands of dollars. So it was probably one of the best, say, paying events of all time without, being intended to be that again.
Sure. Wow. Okay. Okay, that's fascinating. And then, so is this the LAIC that you're talking about here? That's the first LAIC back after the pandemic.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. And I was really eager to say try to cross this one off, but I was not quite sure how it would go in a format where say the best deck was so obvious, and it wasn't that easy to gain a specific advantage in the mirror matches again. But I knew which deck I had to play, at least, and tried to do my best. I think I came up with a pretty good list for that as well. Kind of tried to go back to my roots there as well, playing, a bunch of 4-offs, right? Just like I did at the original NAIC. Just putting in as many 4-offs as I could in the most important cards to try to set up and play, and it worked out really well. I felt like my list had an ever so slight advantage on the other Lugia list. I was setting up just a little bit more that helped me get a little bit of an edge there, I think. And somehow I actually ended up winning this event as well. But it had like a crazy twist in the final. So I was playing the final. I was playing a Lugia mirror, right? As kind of expected. But in the final, in the first game, I actually run out of energies, but my opponent doesn't realize. So I have, my Archeops on board, and they can pick up energies from deck, right? And I just retreat, I pass, and I hope my opponent will do a mistake. And my opponent can't find game, so they just concede. And I felt like I dodged a bullet, because if they say pass or almost whatever except concede, I will concede back. Like, I'm a few seconds away from conceding and going to the next game myself. So I think that's like one of the biggest plot twists I ever had in a tournament.
Wow. When you say your opponent didn't realize that you'd run out of energy, what do you mean by that?
So essentially I had like Archeops in play, which can grab energies from the deck. So normally I would have them in type of a checkmate scenario, right? If they can't find the game-winning play, right? But since I don't have any energies left in the deck, which is, knowledge they don't have yet, right? Then they just assume that I have more left, and to save time, they're thinking, we'll just concede and go to the next one, right? Because my opponent is obviously winning the next turn, so there's no point since I missed this turn, right? I couldn't find the play I needed. But when I don't have energy left, then I'm basically just trying to poker face my way out of this situation, right? Because I don't have it myself. So
yeah.
But I guess my poker face worked, and they thought I had it. So I actually won 3 of these ICs in a row. I won NAIC with the Garbodor deck. I won UIC right after with Sorark.
Yeah.
And then I won OCIC after that with Sorark Gardevoir again.
Okay. Yes. No, you did say. Yeah. Okay. And then LAIC.
And then I lost at LAIC while I'll try to complete the Gauntlet. And then
I see.
I got the finals at NAIC again with Sorark. But then that was like my Sorark adventure. And then
Yeah. Sure. Okay. But it wasn't Sorark that paved the way at LAIC. No, it was this Lugia and Archeops. Wow. I mean, once you'd won that event and you'd won all 4, is that something that anyone had ever done in the history of the game?
No, for sure not. That was for sure the first time.
Wow.
I think there's a couple of people that have won 2 ICs now as well. But I think the other people that won 2 ICs, they all somehow managed to win the same one, except the Sul. At Sul won like NAIC and OCIC. I think 2 is the max from anyone else again. And I definitely had a little bit of a lead on the ICs at least. So, but I was overjoyed when I got that one. That one also felt like really surreal, because I was, for a very long time, I would never think I would actually get it, because it's such a specific event to actually get, right? It's essentially basically like Worlds at that point, because you only have one opportunity a year, right? And the event is obviously not every single top player will be at that event, but most of them will be, and it will also be a lot more players in general, right? So difficulty level wise, it's definitely up there again. I think if the goal was to get exactly first place. So
yeah.
That also felt like really surreal, and also with a deck I didn't really expect to do it with either.
Wow. Okay.
I felt that
Well,
I felt the variance of the format was too high to like consistently be able to pull off a good result with it. But apparently, I was wrong.
yeah. Wonderful. Okay, well, now it's time to discover what's going to be the fourth Pokemon on your dream team alongside Pidgeot, Garbodor, and Zoroark. And, of course, there are a couple of candidates that it could be for this one, so let's find out.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna make it too difficult. I'm gonna pick Lugia for this one, as
Lugia.
it was such an iconic card because it was essentially the best, if not, or like one of the best, if not the best deck since it's printed until it rotated now not too long ago, and had a lot of different variations of it, and they were all like very strong and like it was meta defining for
Yeah.
a very long time and a very cool card. It was like obviously really really strong, but it had a lot of nuance to it because you could choose between so many different attackers, so many different energies, and basically had so many options every turn.
Well, yeah, Lugia makes total sense joining the team here. For the benefit of all the viewers, yes, I have just taken out my contact lenses and put my glasses on instead. It's one of the warmest days over here in the UK, and my eyes could not hack the contact lenses. We're going to aeroblast over from there now into making finals at the World Championships.
Yes, so I definitely had quite a bit of hype on me after the event in Brazil, I think, but after that, Gardevoir EX came out, and Scarlet Violet went into a new era of cards, and I just really liked the card. It didn't put up the greatest of results in Japan initially, but this was like another one of those times where I kind of just wanted to trust in the card again, and it was funny because it was relatively similar to Zoroark again, because the Kirlia actually has the same ability, trait, or called Refinement on Kirlia. Discard one card, draw two, same thing, right? But this time it could evolve into Gardevoir, which lets you accelerate as many energies from your discard pile as you want. And all up until today, Gardevoir just keeps winning events, and people are arguing that Gardevoir is still like the best deck in the format, and probably still is, even if it is very different now from what it was back then. But yeah, I was kind of determined on making something happen with it, so I played it at multiple events leading up to Worlds as well. I made finals at UIC again with it. I lost though. Big fault of my own. Probably the worst played final I ever done. But I was still happy with my performance up until that point at the very least. And the deck was just really strong. So I headed into Worlds with it, and I decided that my approach to Worlds this time was just going to be to play the best Pokemon I could. So I had kind of stuck with Gardevoir for a long time, and I decided to just, really lock in on the deck leading up to the event. So before Worlds that year, I played the deck essentially every day, as much as I could, and tried out all the different variations I could of the deck. Tried different cards, different strategies, and just really wanted everything to work. And the deck was really good, but complicated, so I felt like I had a lot to learn. But that was my progress, and I went in feeling really well prepared, and then I lose the very first round of Worlds. So that was like a big punch to the gut. I was thinking, dang, that's really bad. Now I really need to focus again. I don't think I necessarily played the first round terrible, but there's some variance involved as well, and it just didn't go my way there. But I managed to win the next 6 rounds and intentionally draw my final round to guarantee top cut, which was amazing. And had some great games on stream after that to get myself into the finals again. And I remember waking up the next day, and I had the exact same feeling waking up that day as when I woke up for the first NAIC final, like the very first time I made it. It was the same experience. So even if I had like a lot of finals in the meantime, right? Like waking up on Championship Sunday, like they kind of faded comparably. But now it was like full on back to the same feeling of, say, euphoria of, accomplishing something big, right? In my head, at least. And at that point, like I wanted to still do my best, but I felt like I kind of already got there. If that makes sense. Like I really wanted to win Worlds. It was like my last, say, check mark, but I felt like this is like kind of close enough, right? So maybe I didn't actually give it my all there. I made like a couple mistakes in the final. They were not super visible, but I know what they were, and they might have cost me. So, but it was an amazing experience, and I'm very happy for Vance as well, my opponent, with his win. Like he had been playing the Mew VMAX deck that won that he played for a long time, and he played it really well, and it was really cool to see. And it was a really fun underdog story as well, because in the top 4 of that Worlds you had Azul, Michael Pramawat, me, and then Vance, right? And like it's definitely 3 of the most prominent players over like the last couple decades, right? And then Vance took it all down. It was really cool, and I think it was like a really good way to get more players into the game as well. I think because you could see that it doesn't matter what kind of history or position or whatever you have, like you can get there. Not saying that Vance was like a completely unknown either, but
yeah,
he definitely made a name for himself at that event.
That's thrilling. I guess the question on everyone's lips now, you said there are a couple of mistakes you think you made that weren't that visible, but you think could have gone better. Just briefly, what would they be?
So, in the first game, I intentionally did not draw cards with my Greninja and Curlia, I think, or like at least one of them. And my reasoning was that, like on the turn I didn't do it, was because I was really afraid of drawing into more Curlias again. Because there's an attack on one of the Curlias I play that lets you grab all the Curlias out of your deck and put them straight onto the bench without needing the rolls first. That's a really powerful attack because it basically lets you set up immediately, right? But if you happen to draw them out of the deck first and get them into your hand, that attack won't work, right? Because now you suddenly can't search them out of the deck and just put them onto the bench again. So I wanted to avoid that at all costs, right? So I decided not to draw cards. The problem is that it was actually guaranteed for me to not draw into them because they were actually at the bottom of the deck thanks to a supporter I was played earlier, Iono, which shuffles your hand and puts it on the bottom of the deck. So I actually had knowledge of where my Curlias was, so I could have safely drawn some extra cards and made it more likely for me to pull off the big play I needed on the following turn, but with a couple extra cards into my deck. So on the next turn, I draw almost my entire deck. I think it's like 10 cards left. Unfortunately for me, I needed there was 3 outs, and all 3 of those outs were like at the bottom 10. And if I were a couple cards deeper, I could have maybe gotten one of them and gotten that huge knockout I really needed. And with that miss, I was stuck on the back foot and lost that game.
Really interesting. Okay. Now, just for some context here, what year Worlds was this?
This was 2023, I'm pretty sure. Okay. This was the World Championship in Japan.
Yeah, in Yokohama. Okay, now, I mean, at this point, so we've reached 2023, and of course your sort of story with the trading card game begins, I think you said, around 2007-ish, I think, when you downloaded that Deoxys. We're, in any case, around 15 to 20 years. I mean, with all of the IC wins that you've got, and now you reach a Worlds final, just the amount of knowledge about the game that you must have accumulated, it must be exponential. Do you have a sense of that when you're in this World's Final in 2023, do you have a sense of, okay, it really is an iceberg that I'm forming here in terms of the amount of knowledge that I have, and do you feel like that is showing in your matches against players?
Yeah, I definitely feel like my success in the game has something behind it. Like I feel like I just put in a lot of work as well. Like you can definitely say I got lucky in some instances too, of course. Like you need to, right? But I feel like I put in so much effort in so many, say, different instances, right? Treating each event as, it's a separate thing that I practice and prepare for, and, constantly trying to learn and evolve. I basically don't ever want to settle and say that I'm good enough, like that's it. I want to continue to grow and be better. And I'm still learning a lot. So it's interesting to go back and look at the level I was just a few years ago and then compare it to the level I am at now. And because a few years ago, I thought I was really good at that point as well. But now I feel like, there was a lot of things I was missing in the moment, right? And I felt like I grown my fundamentals even quite a bit since then. Like even since that Worlds, I felt like I have improved quite a bit. And it almost feels necessary as well, because the events now are incredible, right? They're so big. Like they're completely out of any proportion we ever had. So if you want to keep doing well, then you kind of just need to keep stepping up, right? And just continue to improve and get better, or else, it will be hard to keep up. And there's so many like really good and talented players in the game right now that have really consistent results, and it's hard to keep up. I'm definitely feeling like I'm starting to get a little bit old. My stamina during events definitely felt like it's dropped a little bit. I'm not saying I'm like old yet, but I felt like things were easier 10 years ago, right? it's something
Sure.
there.
Yeah. There you have it. I think that's a theme that constantly comes out with people who are very successful in any walk of life you may choose. The fact that they're constantly learning, always a student. There's always things to improve on. So that's fascinating to hear. And at what point did you start to do this, the trading card game, professionally?
So I think I decided to take the leap somewhere around the COVID times. Then I decided that when it starts up again, then I want to be a full-time player and just kind of go all in, because the game kept on growing, right? It's so like really explosive growth. So I figured that would actually, a really good opportunity. We had like a couple huge spikes in Pokemon as a whole. I think the first one came around Pokemon Go. Like that got a lot of people into the franchise for sure. And I think we had a huge spike during COVID as well. That was like the second big one, where we had a lot of collectors coming into the game. And that also, say, drip down onto the competitive circuit as well. There's a lot of the collectors, even just a small portion, if they get converted into the game, then that's a huge boost to the player base, right? Which we saw. So with the game having such a growth, right, I figured that there's way more sustainable now than before. And around at the same time, MetaFi became a thing. It's like it was a lot easier to make coaching a more viable business model as well. And that's essentially the main thing I'm doing now is the coaching model, right? Where I kind of get to focus all my time and energy onto one thing, which is what I like, where I can, prepare for events, trying to improve myself and get better. And then what I do is I just try to teach everyone else the same things that I'm figuring out and learning. So it's very nice to be able to focus on like just one thing instead of having my attention divided between a lot of different things again.
Wow, fascinating. Well, from there, it's now time to discover what's going to be Pokemon number 5 on your dream team. So who's going to be joining Pidgeot and Garboda, Zoroark and Lugia?
Well, So I told a little bit about this, but I think it makes sense to put God of War there as the next one. I also thought it was fun that God of War was also original in my Zorak deck that helped me win the third IC. So that was obviously like a completely different God of War, but I felt I used that one quite a bit, and I also used the new one a lot, right? So God of War seems like a very fitting card as well, or like fitting Pokemon, not card.
Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does. And all of the Pokemon are incredibly well chosen to represent each segment of your story. So, God of War, welcome to Tour's Dream Team. And before we round out this Dream Team tour, let's trace our way over from there now into trying to cement your place at another European International Championships with a different key Pokemon.
Yes. So now we're in UIC 2024 in London. And Charizard EX is a thing now. Really strong stage 2 Pokemon. When you evolve it, you can grab energies from your deck, you charge itself or anywhere you like. And its attack scales with the game. So the more prize cards your opponent has taken, if they take 6 prize cards, they win the game. But the more of these they have taken, the stronger Charizard's attack is. So the more aggressive your opponent is, the more punishing Charizard becomes immediately. So it's an extremely good anti-aggressive card that forces your opponent to slow down and really think about their knockouts and only take them when they're truly ready to take them. And I partnered this Charizard card with Pitcher DX, which is just the reincarnation of the good old quick search Pidgeot. Grab any one card from your deck. Obviously now it has much better stats than the original one, but the Pokepower or ability, which is now, was completely the same again. So grab your deck, pick any one card from the deck, put it into your hand, so you can do whatever you want. It just makes checkmate scenarios extremely, easy, essentially. Like, even if your opponent takes your hand away, you know that you will find, the game-winning card next turn, right? Thanks to Pitch It. So it's a very fun way to play Pokemon, just kind of knowing that you have the game locked up, a couple turns in advance again. There's very little things the opponent can do to deny it if you find the correct line, right? So that was really cool. I put in a lot of effort with this deck as well. And I also made a little twist this time too, where picking any one card from your deck is great, right? But usually you need a little bit more of a combo these days. In the old format, when we used it originally, picking one card from deck was usually fine. Even if you didn't have the whole combo, you probably didn't have to have the whole combo immediately. You can, pick one card here, you pass a turn, pick another card next turn, Things were a little bit slower. But in the modern day, we kind of need things to happen immediately. So since I was looking for combos, right, I decided that Pidgeot wasn't enough. So I paired it with some really strong draw support as well. So I was playing Cleffa as an opener. Cleffa lets you draw until you have 7 cards in hand. It doesn't cost any energies either. Incredible opening Pokemon. And at the time, it wasn't played at all. So this is also like a really cool innovation that I was like very happy with at the time. And I also added Bibarel to the list. This is something that was occurring a little bit in Japan as well. I talked with some Japanese friends, and they just really recommended I try out the Bibarel. And I tried it and I was sold immediately. That was like a really good card. And Bibarel is the same as the old Octillery we talked about earlier, which existed together with the Zorak, right? Which draws cards until you have 5 cards in hand. So now we could start off with this, like we could fill up the hand first, find some random pieces, and then we could quick search for the missing piece, and then we could do the combo we needed, right? Turn after turn. So it made combos and more powerful plays a lot more likely when you could, fill up hand and draw cards first and then cherry pick the one missing card afterwards again. So that was kind of the innovation we had for this tournament with the Charizard Pidgeot deck. And this tournament also went really well. We got all the way to the finals again, and this time we actually won with the Charizard deck, playing against Saya Bradner, which just won the North American International just a couple of weeks ago. So it was really cool to see him get the sort of revenge from me taking away this from him before again. Like this was his third final. He lost the 2 previous ones, so now he finally got to take one home.
Yeah, brilliant. I love how it comes full circle with Pidgeot being a crucial part of this deck as well. And I guess, you were talking just before about how much experience you've built up playing the game. At the same time, so many of these cards you have been using for a very, very long time, and so you know how those specific cards work. Would you say that, of all the options there are, all of the deck options available to you, how far do you trust yourself to pick up a brand new deck and still pilot that successfully?
So it's kind of dwells a little bit into the tournament preparation, I think. So normally I really recommend that players don't really pick up something completely new, like right before an event. That the best deck for you to play is not the best deck. It's the deck that's best for you, which is the one you practice the most with, and you know your lines and you know what to do, right? If you just grab the deck that someone says is the best, right, then you probably don't have that much practice with it, and you might even be jeopardizing a lot of testing just because you want to play quote-unquote better deck, right? But that's usually not the way to go about it. So I found like a pattern in all the events I've been doing well at. And the pattern is basically I pick a deck good time in advance, and I just try to become really, really good at that deck. And it was true for essentially all my big wins here, like all my like really deep runs. I just see that I need to stick with the thing I practiced. Every time I try to be a little bit cute about it and change it up, do meta calls and whatever right before, it usually never works out too well for me. Sometimes I can get like a little bit lucky and have like a decent run, but it's very rare I have any big wins with that sort of strategy. So
Okay.
that was also like a learning process. I had to throw away quite a bit of events doing this core strategy as well before I realized that it was not the way to go for me.
That's really interesting. When you sent over your topics to me in advance, what you titled this "Trying to Cement Your Place" at another EUIC. What specifically did you mean by that?
Oh, I wasn't quite sure how to word it. So at this point, I had won 4 ICs and made finals at Worlds. So, what would winning another IC do for me at this point, right? Like what am I after, since I won all of the ICs already? But the slogan of the Pokemon franchise is to be the very best, right? Like no one ever was. And in the community, there was always like the debate between me and Jason. Jason is an insane player. I think it's a very big parallel between Wolf and Ray Rizzo in VGC. You have Ray that's won 3 Worlds, right? And you had Wolfie that's won basically everything else, but also has a Worlds. But like, what do you weight more, right? It's like a similar story with me and Jason. Jason has won 3 World Championships as well. I haven't won any. I have a finals in the top 4, but I haven't a win. But I won all these modern huge events with ICs instead, right? So I guess like the only thing I was really chasing at this point was just trying to win more of these big events to see if I could ever get the recognition similar to Jason again. And I don't know, for me it's kind of like a noble goal, trying to see how far I can push myself, right? Like how much can I accomplish in this game? But I also just find it really fun. It's really fun to compete, right? It's really fun going to events and trying to do your best and see what you can get out of your preparation, right? Are you actually the best prepared one in the room or not? And can you how can you show that? I gone to a lot of events where I definitely been outplayed as well. Like people have showed up with better decks, better preparation than me, and it's always like fun to see, right? So I'm always like very proud and happy whenever I find something I can do really well with, and I kind of go the distance, right? So that was like, say, one of my goals for this. I might have like worded it poorly, but it
No, yeah.
that was I was just very happy. I managed to get like another one somehow. That was I remember after winning the first one, I was thinking that was really cool. That was a dream. It'll never happen again, but that's okay, right? But
Yeah.
we'll always
Really
try,
interesting.
right? It doesn't stop you from trying, and I like to look at everything as just like a bonus, right? You try your best, and if it goes well, it's a bonus, right?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
then you can't be too hard on yourself, depending on how things go.
Yeah, that's a wonderful mindset to have. And I mean, I'm sure for everyone watching and listening will very much agree that you have succeeded in doing that, in cementing your place. However, you define that for yourself with the number of incredible wins under your belt. And just for anyone unfamiliar, the Jason you're referring to, which Jason is that? What's the surname?
So I'm talking about like Jason Klasinski, really good player, also a good friend of mine actually. We play a lot of old formats together, and talk pretty regularly with each other actually, which is fun. So he's become a good friend of mine over the last few years.
Fantastic.
We met up a couple years ago to play a old like retro format in Florida actually, which was also really fun. Hosted by Jason was a really amazing experience. But he's a good guy. He doesn't really play anymore. He quit, I think, after the first IC. I think he stopped playing. It was like a couple of reasons, but the game was essentially just not to his liking anymore, because the game is like very, very different from what it was back in the day. With stats, pacing, strategy, and everything. It's definitely very different. I still think it's enjoyable, but it's a very different game again than what he was playing.
Very interesting. All right, well, thank you for that. And I have a suspicion I know what's going to be the final Pokemon joining a Dream Team TORD, but let's dot the I's and cross the T's. Who's going to be Pokemon number 6?
You have to get the iconic dragon in here and put Charizard on the team.
Charizard, which is, ironically, in fact, not a dragon. But Charizard will be swooping in and joining the team. Yeah, might look like a dragon, but doesn't have that dragon typing. But yeah, the Pokemon that was so crucial in doing, as you call it, cementing your place. So Charizard, welcome. And this means, Tor, that your complete Dream Team is Pidgeot, Garbodor, Zoroark, Lugia, Gardevoir, and Charizard. And each of them so very well tied to the successes you have had. And as I said, love to see the Pidgeot coming back towards the end there as well. We've got a couple of Generation 1. We're going up to Generation 5 with Garbodor and Zoroark on there as well. And then Generation 3 with Gardevoir. Lugia, which is Generation 2. So, fairly sort of classic Pokemon there, but of course you've made reference to Pokemon like Buzzwole that have come from later generations too. Now it's time to ask you, of these 6 Pokemon TORD, which would you choose to be your partner Pokemon?
Oof, I don't know. Zoroark is probably the most iconic one still, so I will probably still go with Zoroark. I'll shout out like honorable mention to Dragapult of recent times, which was what I played now, and I've been playing a lot for the last year or so. And Celebi is actually like my favorite Pokemon. Doesn't have much competitive relevance in the TCG, so unfortunately didn't make the team this time. But I do always show up to events with a handmade plushie from my mom for like good luck. So honorable mention to both of these as well, I think. And there's probably like a couple other Pokemon that should have a shout out here, but was off the top of my head, those as well.
That's fantastic.
Those at least.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Zoroark, you were saying that is, in your mind, the deck that you've made that is the most dominant. So Zoroark makes total sense being your partner Pokemon here. The fact that Celebi is your favorite, that's fascinating. So how come Celebi is your favorite?
I'm not quite sure how it came to that, but I really liked the fourth movie when I was a kid. Celebi Forever, or like Pokemon Forever, I think it was called. And I always like to call it green, and I kind of they related it to luck as well, with like the four-leaf clover, right? Just green, Selby was green. I don't know, it kind of become just a lucky symbol to me. And I don't know, it's kind of random which Pokemon ends up as your favorite. I think.
Sure.
So, like almost every Pokemon is someone's favorite. So
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's really cool going to like the Pokemon centers, and you can see that they have plushies of basically any Pokemon, right? So everyone has an option for their favorite.
Yeah, you're so right. The fact that your mum made a Celebi plush for you as well, that's wonderful to hear. And I love that it comes all the way full circle back round to your mum, who was the one who learned the rules of the game and taught them to you. So fantastic. Shout out to Tord's mum here as well. But it will be Zoroark joining the team as your partner Pokemon here. And now a slightly different kind of question for you, Tord. If you were a Pokemon, what do you think you would be?
If I were a Pokemon, like which typing or which specific Pokemon?
Which specific Pokemon, but I mean, yeah, a good way in can be to think about what type you think you'd be.
Oh, that's difficult. So many to choose from. Probably be fun just being one of the little mouse Pokemon, just to run around and, and nibble on things. It'd be so boring to say Pikachu, right? Yeah.
You can say Pikachu. I mean, what type do you...
Actually, maybe we'll just pick Celebi. Celebi has time travel.
Celebi?
Celebi's
It does. It does have time travel, yeah. But do you think you would be a Grass and Psychic type Pokemon? I'm trying to think. I think Psychic definitely comes into it. I could also see... I don't know, you seem pretty sure. I could see Normal as well. I could see you as an Orangaroo, actually. You're sort of instructing people, especially with your coaching that you do now. And
that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Chill vibe about you. Yeah, well, I would say Orangaroo. What do you all think? Do you agree that of all the Pokemon there are, Tord will be an Orangaroo, or indeed a Pikachu, or a cute little mouse Pokemon? Let us know in the comments. We'd be fascinated to hear. Speaking of you all, it's time for your community questions. I'll post it online, as I always do, asking for a question for Tord. Thank you so much for submitting them. Of course, I had quite a few submissions for Tord. I apologise I won't be able to feature all of them, and I apologise if I mispronounce any of your names or handles, but some really incredibly fascinating questions here. So to kick things off with Lyric of Wisdom. If you never found the Pokemon Trading Card Game, what hobby do you think you would have found?
I would probably have been drawn to some sort of competitive game, I think. Because if it wasn't Pokemon, then I put a lot of time into like competitive games in general. Like the other game I actually had, I wouldn't say career, but I played a lot of and played some events and stuff as well, was Hearthstone. Like Hearthstone was something I actually put in more time in at some point than Pokemon, just because it was so fun. I felt like I learned quite a bit from Hearthstone as well, that I could use for Pokemon. Just card interactions, card advantage, right? Obviously, the games are like very different, and the card advantage means very different things. But I still felt like it was some takeaways there, essentially. My biggest accomplishments in Hearthstone was I won, say, the equivalent to Norwegian nationals a couple times in Hearthstone, which was really cool, and I reached rank 1 on the European server a couple times. Which I was also pretty proud of, back in the day. This was like more than 10 years ago, like when Hearthstone was pretty new. I think I would probably have played, another competitive card game if it wasn't Pokemon. Like I could see myself playing Hearthstone or Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh. It definitely seems like a genre I'm attracted to for sure.
Yeah.
If it didn't have to be Pokemon, those other ones would probably have worked for me as well. But maybe I could have played something more fast-paced as well. I used to play a lot of StarCraft back in the day too. It was a real-time strategy game. This is a game that's fallen a little bit off, just like Hearthstone, but that was also a very fun competitive game that I sank a lot of time into during my high school years.
Interesting. Thank you very much. I guess there's a question as well of, you've always loved Pokemon, and so whether it would be maybe the competitive video game, but I think that's going to be a question that comes up in a moment, so we'll hold fire on that one for now. The person who put us in touch, Omnijoe, Joe Bernard, would like to know, what deck are you most proud of creating? And also, which did you find success with that you were most skeptical of before the event?
Ooh. I think it was the Zorak Golisopod deck. I would have to say, because the build, the concept, everything was just, it was so against the stream at the time, and it ended up just becoming the blueprint for that engine, that way to play for the following year until the cards rotated, right? And I just sank so much time and effort into it as well, and that was probably like my proudest creation. I think I will always refer to that deck, because it was just, it felt like really unique at the time, at least. Looking back now, it was just one of the decks, right? One of the top decks. But at the time, it felt very unique. So probably that one. Sorry, what was the other question?
And the second question was, a deck that you found success with that you doubted the most before you actually played it.
Ooh. And if I do end up playing a deck, I usually have some belief in it, I think.
Yeah.
But actually, okay, I have one. I won a regional with a Mewtwo tag team deck. Mewtwo and Mew GX tag team. It was some years ago, but I played a really funky list, like a really funny one. So I paired the Mewtwo with Shedinja. So this Mewtwo tag team, it gives up 3 prizes if he knocks it out. So if you knock out 2 of these Mewtwo's, your opponent takes 6 prize cards. So they only need to knock out 2 Pokemon to win the game, right? And I figured, you know what, that's not great, right? It's still like a very successful archetype, but it's like relatively easy to just beat it, right? If you find a way to one-shot these 2 Mewtwo's. So I paired it with Shedinja, and Shedinja has a really funny ability that you attach it to a Pokemon in play, and then when that Pokemon gets knocked out, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. So now suddenly this Mewtwo is worth 2 prize cards instead. So now in theory, you could, donate the Mewtwo for 2 prize cards, and then your opponent still had to knock out 2 more Mewtwo's to win the game. So I felt that made like quite a bit of a difference. And then in that same deck, I also played 2 Stadium cards that turned off all Pokemon Tool cards, which Shedinja was in play, which also seems like it doesn't make any sense at all, right? But I needed those Stadiums for like another deck, because another deck had like some really annoying tool cards that blocked Mewtwo from attacking them whatsoever. So I needed a way out of that. But the whole list just kind of looked like a mess, and had like cards going against each other, like the Shedinja and the Lysander Labs. And like squeezing Shedinja into this Mewtwo deck was like really unheard of. Didn't really make too much sense, right? But I won that regional, and I had like one of my best runs, I think, ever with it. Like every game I played with, it felt like pretty dominant. It was like a really good strategy. But the deck didn't catch on. It wasn't really a thing after that event. It was only me that one time with that one deck winning the event. And like no one really liked it that much. And I still don't know why. I think it was a pretty fun deck. But I was like really skeptical, like going in. I was showing like all my friends the list the day before. Everyone just laughed and said, "Are you crazy? This won't work."
Well, there you go.
but it did. But yeah, I was only like a little bit skeptical since everyone was like so against it. But it worked out well.
Yeah, it was that fairy tale ending. And this is the thing, we've heard a lot about international wins, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the regional wins that you've had, just because you've had so many of the international wins to your name. Absolutely phenomenal achievement. Of course, just for anyone unfamiliar, that prize cards are what are so crucial in the trading card game. If you take 6 prize cards, I believe it is, then you win the game. That's right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why we needed to give away 2 prize cards instead of 3.
Absolutely crucial difference. So now, from Team Vikavolt, Thoughts on, yeah, would love to hear your reflections on all of the attention you now receive within the community. Does it affect anything you do now, and does it apply more pressure and all of that sort of thing?
It's definitely very different for me to prepare for events now than it was like back in the day. In one way, it definitely feels a little bit harder because I feel a lot more monitored than before. So, like, one practical thing I have to do, for example, is I now solely test on Smurf accounts that no one knows, like my name, when I'm trying out new concepts on ladder and playing against people, because I don't want other people to know what I'm trying out all the time, right? Like if I actually do stumble upon a really good concept, then I want to test it a little bit more in peace instead of it, being widely known immediately to try to give me some sort of, advantage heading into events. But like the attention also, puts on a little bit of pressure as well, but I can't really complain because I put myself in this position, right? Like I put in a lot of time and effort to try to, come to a point where I was able to win all these events, and that's just like a consequence of it, right? So, and I just feel truly blessed that I somehow managed to get to this point at all, right? So I can't really complain, but it definitely adds a little bit of pressure. I feel often that I need to perform, like heading into these big events. So it's like a blessing and a curse because it becomes a motivator for me to put in the time and effort every time, right? I don't want to show up and say let a lot of people down, right? If I just kind of bomb one of these big events because I didn't bother putting in any time or effort, then like that would feel bad for not me but all the people that try to look up to me and see what I could do at these, right? But it's kind of the life I've chosen. I'm very happy with it, and I don't actually mind the extra motivation to want to do well at events.
That's a really fascinating way of putting it.
It's what I set out to do, right? So it's all good.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, Rage Candy Bar Gaming would like to know, here we go. So, any experience with, for example, other competitive Pokemon games, so the video game, or Go, or Unite, and your thoughts on those?
I think the one I'm the most into is just VGC. I actually watched quite a bit of it, and I played the games a lot when I was young, right? So like obviously know all the mechanics. I know all the basic. I know EVs, IVs. I know natures. I know all the attacks. Like I know all the basics, right? And I just don't have the high level competitive strategy, and that's something I'm missing if I were to like ever compete in that, right? But I can definitely see myself doing it, but it's very time consuming, right? Like it's like TCG. You need to put in a lot of time and effort to actually become good enough at it if you want to have a decent showing at any event. And I also think it's a kind of a shame that the VGC and TCG tournaments always overlap. I think if events at one day become so big that they kind of need separate venues for them, or they decide to do that, right? And maybe put them on different dates as well. I could see myself actually wanting to show up and play in a VGC tournament. I think that could be very fun. But since TCG is like my main thing, right? Then I'm probably not going to show up to VGC tournament sacrificing a TCG one. But I would love to try to do both, right? And like if I haven't free weekend and play some VGC, that sounds really fun.
Yeah, really interesting way of putting it. Yeah, I guess obviously trading card games and sort of more esport focused video games will work in very different ways, but also both have that sort of logical puzzle element to them. So it would be fascinating to see you try and compete, see you scratch that itch, but only time will tell. Thank you very much for that question. And our final question here from Riley. Thank you so much, Riley, for all of your support of the show over the, past more than a year. We've got Mega Evolved Pokemon returning to the trading card game and owner's cards. Are there any other mechanics, etc., from older sets you'd like to see return?
Ooh. My favorite was the GX mechanic. It's like a once a match or like once a game attack you get to use, and that's it. You don't get to use it anymore. It's like a marker. You have you flip it, and that's it. You only get to use that once. We got it back later with V-Star as well, but then it also branched out to be not only attacks but also abilities as well. Like something you could do like once a game. But I really like the GX attacks. I thought they were like really cool and intricate. And just the design of the Pokemon at that time was very good. So I would really like to see that mechanic come back. I think that was definitely like my favorite one.
Very interesting. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts, Tord, and thank you for all of your questions there. If you'd like to submit a question for a future guest on Chazingdra Chats, you can find my socials at Chazingdra across X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. That's where I post the call-outs for questions for my guests. I would love to hear what you'd love to hear. All right then, Tord, so we've heard a lot about you up to now, but what's next for you?
Well, the World Championships is coming up soon. That will be the next thing I'm playing it, and as you know from our talk now, this is kind of the big one for me, right? This is where I need to put in all my time and effort and see if I can make something happen. It is such a difficult event with so many incredible players at it, and all of them doing the same thing in preparation-wise, right? Like everyone is trying their very, very best to, figure out the format, figure out what's the best, how to play, all these small micro decisions. It's just so difficult, and it just becomes increasingly more difficult each year as well. But I learned a lot over the years. I feel like my process keeps improving. I keep getting better at the preparation phase. So who knows? Maybe I will be able to find a great route to the event this time. But that will be my main focus for the next couple months until Worlds. I will, however, take like a week off now immediately just to be with my family a little bit and trying to do a little bit of break. It's been quite nonstop for me lately. Been a lot in Japan, playing a lot of Pokemon over there. This season, which was also like a very new experience for me, but very fun as well. But it's definitely different jet lag wise going over there. It's quite some distance, so it's definitely taking its toll on me. I feel like I need a little bit of recovery now before we can fully focus up and start preparing for Worlds again.
That sounds wise, and that sounds like it'll pave the way for the best possible preparation for you, and fingers crossed for you, Tord, at this year's World Championships. At the time of recording, of course, 2025, we'll have to see how that goes. And final question for you, Tord. Looking back from now as one of the greatest Pokemon Trading Card Game players that we've seen, all the way back to the young Tord who went to get that event distribution Deoxys and discovered the competitive Pokemon Trading Card Game happening there, what advice would you give to that younger you?
I'm not sure. I think the kid needed to learn a lot from his mistakes as well. So like that's the best way to learn, just trial and error. But the best one is probably like to not give up, just keep playing. I think just making it very simple. There's probably some specific advice I could give as well, right? Try to make the process cleaner, but if you never try something and you fail, then you don't know why you should like do one thing or the other, right? So I think the process was important anyway. So I think we'll just let young Tord do whatever he needs to do to get there.
Yeah, well, as you say, trial and error is the most efficient way to learn. Thank you so much, TORD. And the chat is not in there because we'll now be getting into TORD Reklev's Rapidash round, 15 or so minutes of bonus questions that TORD is not prepared for. And there's, as always, so many more things I want to take a deeper dive into. Where TORD's playing of the mainline games went alongside all of playing the card games as well, and if he kept that up. What's the proudest of all of TORD's achievements? How does TORD ever deal with the burnout that he may feel? How does he get over that? Favourite card art that TORD have, advice to aspiring trading card game competitors, and so many more questions. If you would like to hang out with me and TORD for a little bit longer, then you can become a YouTube channel member to access the Rapidash round or buy the products individually on my Patreon. YouTube channel members also get access to far more perks. Fundamentally, really appreciate the fact that you've listened to or watched this episode in its entirety. But again, if you want to learn more from TORD's wisdom, then that option is available to you. All the links will be in the description below. And TORD, thank you so much again for joining me on the show. Been really wonderful to take a deeper dive and into some things that perhaps some of the people who follow you avidly might not be so familiar with. So thank you.
It was fun to take a stroll down memory lane again and reminiscing about how we got here. And I feel like it helps me a little bit personally as well, like put things a little bit in perspective, just to learn from it, right? A couple of times when I've done this before, just for myself, then that's when you can really start noticing patterns, right? Of like when did I actually succeed, right? Like what did I do? Does all these great tournament runs have anything in common, right? And if so, like what's the takeaway here, right? Like whenever I find myself in a slump, basically, like not doing that well again, like what am I doing wrong now, right? Like what's different? And I think that's how I figured out, how just picking whatever it is and just like locking in with that thing is what really matters for consistent success. And a couple things related to like deck building as well is something I figured out when doing these type of things. So I appreciate you like helping me out or like letting me go through the process again. So
No, I'm very pleased to hear it. It was fascinating to get your insight. And if people want to keep up with you online, TORD, where can they find you?
At my name on Twitter or X mainly. That's like the main social media platform I'm using. But I'm also on Metafy. If you're looking for coaching, I do run some weekly sessions there. It's like a big group session where you can come in, chat, and ask questions. And I will give you all my updated thoughts on the format and the most recent exam testing, and kind of let you be part of my process before big events.
So many pearls of wisdom on offer, so make sure you do go and check that out. And now time for some YouTube spiel from this side of things. If you've enjoyed everybody, once more, please do like and subscribe. It would really mean a huge amount to show your support for everything that TORD has shared with us. Drop a comment too, because as with all my guests, TORD has given us so much food for thought. And more than 60 episodes of the podcast available at this point, with a broad range of guests from not only the trading card game community, but the video game and Go and Unite as well as people who enjoy Pokemon in a more casual sense, shiny hunters and YouTubers, and so many more. There's bound to be something for everyone. You can use the hashtag 6Pokemon1LifeStory to spread the word about the show, and there's plenty more content on my channel too. I'm currently working on my big EYC video, the event from the caster's perspective, and breaking down the game, the competitive video game that is, so that anyone can understand and enjoy it, as well as other scripted content and comedy skits that I make within the Pokemon world. I stream there as well, competitive as well as casual, as well as Nuzlocke. If you're a fan of everything that Pokemon video games have to offer, then my channel is the place for you. And I'm at Chazingdra across all of the socials. Got my Discord community linked below too. Chazingdra@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me. And episodes of the podcast drop every Wednesday. So with that being said, TORD, it's now time to get into your Rapidash round. If you're not joining us over on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member for that, then it's goodbye from TORD.
Yeah, bye-bye. I was sure I was supposed to say that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. And it's goodbye from me. See you next time on Chazingdra Chats, where there'll be another 6 Pokemon One Life Story. So then, TORD, how are you feeling about these bonus questions?
I'm excited. I don't know what they are yet, but will be fun.
So what we're going to start with here is, what's the main advice you would give to people who want to compete in the trading card game for Pokemon?
So